blinking. That means what? Am I live? Am I happening? Am I here right now? Is this all real? Can we really be sure what's real and what's not? When it comes to Cocktales and Tiki King, no, you cannot. You have your choice. Tonight, it's ladies' choice tonight on Cocktales and Tiki King. You can have your own reality, or I have actually neatly packaged one up to provide for you tonight. And it might be an alternate one, but we never know. We never know until we get started. And so why don't we just get started? Do I have to talk about anything first? What do I have to talk about? So last week's show, sorry, I was out in the desert and driving along, minding our own business, talking about the show, how much fun it's going to be, all the surprises we had in store for you. And I said, you know what we should do? We should. And so we had to pull over because the air that we had trusted to keep our tires inflated decided to go somewhere else. So the rest of the night was spent driving very slowly on a very tiny tire through the deserts of Utah. And so we didn't make it back in time to have the show, and then I thought I could do it the next day, but I figured the disappointment had already set in so deeply with most of you that just wouldn't do. So I thought I'd give you a week to recover, and now here we are. But you know what? I'm not going to let you recover for very long, because tonight's episode, if you well, you don't know. That's the thing, because you don't know what we're going to do. But if you were to do what we're going to do, you wouldn't have to worry about reality for very long, because tonight we're going green. Tonight's the green show because of the drink. Tonight we're drinking absinthe. At least I am. I hope maybe some of you, if you have some absinthe, go get it right now, and then you can join in because if you have a bottle, you already know what you're doing. And if you're watching this show, that proves maybe you don't know what you're doing. But hey, so absinthe. So show of hands out there, who's had absinthe before? How many of you? Well, I know some of you. I know some of the Boozeketeers out there have had all of the things that I will be drinking tonight. Yep, Boozeketeer Maggie there. Producer Boozeketeer Maggie. It's like Reverend Doctor. Producer Boozeketeer Maggie has had absinthe before. And I know that all the Wicked Tinkers have had absinthe and some others. But for those of you who have not, it makes me wonder why. Is it because you don't want to? Or are you afraid? Are you afraid of the ensuing madness it will cause? You know, there's a lot of information out there about absinthe. A lot of it's not true. They recently came out with a study saying that it won't make you go insane. Not true. So tonight you get to vicariously enjoy some absinthe with me because, before the tire air all went away, we stopped at a little liquor store in Winnemucca, Nevada, of all places, and picked up this fine bottle of genuine wormwood absinthe. It's absinthe. And we're going to drink some of that, but we're also probably going to drink some of this, which is Lucid, which is the Turk. The Turk provided me with this bottle, and I'm still working on it. But there's a ton of different absinthes out there. Now it's an absinthe holiday that we're having. You can get it in a lot of different places, at many different price points. It's not everyday swilling booze. I'll tell you that right off the bat, because it can be pricey. It's one of those things you can spend as much as you want, but not nearly as little as you want. So if you're going to drink absinthe, you probably want to start the night with it and finish with something else, because that way it'll last longer and you can have more nights of madness than you would have otherwise. So hey, why don't we get started here? So yeah, there's lots of different kinds. Check it out, airliner of absinthe. Now the beauty of this is it's a mini, which are always good. The downfall is that you can't actually make a proper absinthe on a plane because it calls for fire, and they get upset about that. Apparently, if you're lighting stuff on fire on the tray table, it's right out. They're a little prickly about that sort of thing. So what do we do? What's it all about? People say absinthe? Don't you light it on fire and then like drink it while it's flaming? And no. Don't you have to like have all sorts of exotic herbs and spices? No, that's Kentucky Fried Chicken, and we're not making that. What you do need though, is you need absinthe. And then you're going to need. So there's different things. There's conflicting reports. There are people who've become kind of weird purists, and they say, "Oh, good absinthe should be drinking neat, like a fine scotch." And hey, that's all well and good, but that's not how it's traditionally drank. That's like saying, a Mai Tai should be enjoyed as a straight up shot of rum. No, you put other stuff in it because that makes it more enjoyable. So, if you're going to make an absinthe, you're going to need a bottle of absinthe, you're going to need a glass, like something like this. You're going to need a sugar cube. I just happen to have a skull full of them right here. You're also going to need an absinthe spoon, which is not like a regular spoon, because a regular spoon you can eat soup out of, and an absinthe spoon you cannot. The reason is because they got little holes in them, because they're like a strainer kind of deal. Which you can, in an emergency, probably use some kind of a strainer spoon. If you happen to have a strainer spoon and no absinthe spoon, go to it. But one of the cool things, absinthe, I haven't even started yet already. Absinthe spoons, you can find all kinds of cool designs, all kinds of neat stuff. They're all different, and there's like some of them have advertising on them. I'm not even maintaining them, and I haven't even started. Like this one here has like a weird portrait of Van Gogh on it with 3 different noses, because he was known to smell his absinthe 3 times before drinking it, which is not true at all. But so you'll need an absinthe spoon, you'll need a glass, you'll need a sugar cube, you'll need some ice water. I just happen to have some ice water right here because we made it that's the most exotic ingredient other than the sugar cube, is you have to mix a careful ratio of ice to water until it's cold. Remember that. Don't go the other way. Not till it's hot, because that won't do for anybody. And then you'll need a measuring device. I just happen to have a 1.5 ounce glass here, which is, I know normally I'd say that's a recommendation and you should probably go higher than that. But the night is young, so we'll see what happens. So what do? How does this all work? Well, there's different ways. On the box, like if you go get absinthe, on the box they'll tell you, they'll omit one of the steps. And I'm trying to find the best fit for this particular. I think I like that. One of the things they'll tell you is they'll say glass, spoon, sugar cube, and they'll say to just pour water over it until it dissolves and goes in the glass. Well, that might be fine for people who are prone to lighting themselves on fire, but not good for people like us who want to light ourselves on fire. So what you're going to do is you're going to put a little bit of absinthe on the sugar cube to start out with, and then you're going to light it on fire, like I said. Maybe. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's flaming. It's flaming flames. I'll get out of the way. You can see it. So that's burning away. Now, what's happening here is right now we're caramelizing the sugar. We use the absinthe because the absinthe is generally about a good absinthe is going to be 110 proof minimum, and so it's got a lot of alcohol content. And so we put that on there. We light on fire, and we're caramelizing the sugar, which actually changes the taste. It adds some caramel, literally. It's going to give it a little richer of a taste. Now, some people, which is probably the reason they say not to do it, some people will pour the whole measure of absinthe over the sugar cube into the glass, then light it on fire. And then what happens, this is exciting, and if you're up for it, go to it, but I have to recommend, my lawyers say that I have to recommend you don't do this. The problem with that is flaming bits of sugar are dripping into the glass, and when they ignite the 110 proof absinthe, 2 things are going to happen. One, there's going to be big flames coming up, sugar acting as a fuel and oxidization, and there's going to be a conflagration, which is going to be pretty to look at for a while until your glass shatters, and that's the end of it. But the other thing that I don't recommend it for is because it burns off a lot of the alcohol in the absinthe. If it's down there flaming away, all that flame is because there's no absinthe left. So we've caramelized the sugar. It burned itself out. It didn't burn the sugar, but it gave it a little nice roasty thing. So what we're going to do is pour over the sugar cube about 1.5 ounces of refined green fairy. That's going to take most of the sugar with it. And anything else that's remaining, we're going to pour about 1.5 ounces. This part, because you're not a pour thing, you pour that over and put the rest of the remaining sugar down in there. And here's where the fun begins and my show ends. So now we got that in there. We're going to put that in, get the leftover sugar off the spoon, give it a stir, and see there? It's turning milky white. Now it's sort of a weird, it's like a pale moon green color. which is what you really want, because that means that happiness is waiting right there in the glass. Now here's one of the things that another one of the things. I've got things. I'll tell you about them after I have some of this. I don't know if I'm supposed to lick this, but I'm done. Because oh God, no, I'm kidding. I'll be back to you guys in a minute. Oh, that tastes like insanity. Delicious. So absinthe, so green, so verde, so the verde, all these things. Green, absinthe is associated with green, and there's a couple of reasons for this. Because it's green, it's the first one. But not always. It's not always going to be the color green that you expect. It could be any shade from clear all the way up to sort of a pale mint green. One of the things that used to happen is that absinthe is made out of, you use a base liquor and then a whole bunch of herbs, or not herbs, but I guess herbs, I don't know, a whole bunch of botanicals. It's kind of like vermouth, which, surprise, you know what vermouth is? Vermouth is the German word for wormwood. Vermouth. So, because vermouth used to have wormwood in it, but they took it out. We'll get back to that in a minute. So absinthe, you have alcohol, you have all sorts of botanicals, and the botanicals, if they were fresh and they were good, fresh herbs and stuff, would add a green tinge to it. But back in absinthe's heyday, when people were drinking it as fast as possible, people found that they could make a few bucks by making cheap absinthe. And the way you do that is you take some harsh, like moonshine, and throw a bunch of aniseeds and licorice flavored things, and some copper sulfate, which turns it green and kills you. So the good news there was, $10 is $10. The bad news there is your customer's dead, and that's the only $10 you're going to get. So if they'd have spent $5 more, say on good botanicals, then they would have had customers longer before they went inevitably insane, which is what's going to happen. I don't know if it'll happen before the end of the night, but you never know. We'll see what happens. So yeah, so absinthe. So there's so wormwood. People wonder, what is wormwood? Wormwood is not called wormwood because it's full of worms, like a hot cheese log is. Wormwood is we looked that up. Remember that? I remember looking it up, and it surprised me. Wormwood actually looks kind of like a bush. Strangely enough, it's not even a wood. It's like a weird flowery shrub. And it's called, oh, that's right, it's called wormwood because if you take a lot of it, it will rid your body of worms, which was one of the things, is that absinthe, like many of the drinks of the time, were invented as sort of tonics to rid your body of things you didn't want, like chilblains and vapors and things like that. But they found that this bush wormwood would actually get rid of parasites, hence the name wormwood, which is a whole lot less romantic than if it was filled with worms, like cheese log. And I should remind you at this point to share the program so that your friends and family can enjoy the madness as well as they can enjoy the inherent madness as well as the inevitable descent into madness. So, speaking of wormwood, which like I said, vermouth. Vermouth used to have wormwood. Wormwood was in a lot of different stuff, but the one that it really stuck around with was the absinthe. And because so wormwood has a substance called chujone, which has been compared to THC. So one of the things is that they assumed that's why people were going completely nutty and eating their babies and stuff, was because of the wormwood. So at one point they banned it in a lot of places, and you couldn't get it anymore. You couldn't get real absinthe anymore. But there's a lot of companies that made absinthe before, like Pernod and different ones that began making anisette and pastis. Um, what are the other absinthe substitutes? There's a whole bunch of different. They started making basically wormwood-free absinthe, so which was basically just a strong anise liqueur. One of the things Jägermeister, back when it first came out, had wormwood, which is why I guess the FDA or somebody went, whoa, whoa, whoa. And it disappeared for a while and then came back, and people were like, yeah, it's just not the same. Well, they took out the banned ingredients. And so, yeah, so wormwood, what's more important? Having an annoying baby around or ridding your body of parasites? Tell me. Kind of the same thing. Delicious. Oh, I digressed. Didn't even notice. Nobody knows. Did you guys notice my digression? I digressed. I didn't time travel yet. We might get to that. So I digress. So wormwood, vermouth, martinis. Some of you may have noticed that last weekend I achieved the Order of the Martini, the Boozeketeer's Order of the Martini, and I'm here to tell you, you can do it too. It's currently the highest Boozeketeer honor I think there is, because it's about the only one other than tragic shame from others who know you. I think that the order of the Martini is about as high as you can go currently. We'll get higher. Just tell them you wanted to get higher. So if you achieve the Order of the Martini and someone says why, just tell them you wanted to get higher. Because right now we're all Boozeketeers. That's well and good, but we might as well strive to better ourselves. So you may ask, it's a flexible order, by the way, and it can be adapted to your personal situation. And if you tell me about it, I might say, yeah, good one. So the way I achieved the Order of the Martini was by we were in a bar up in Kelso, Washington, and having some drinks up there, and someone ordered a martini, and they made it, and then before it was even served, the guy changed his mind and wanted a different brand. So the bartender came walking back by and set that martini behind the bar, but directly in front of me. And producer Maggie was there, and I said, "I'm going to drink that." She said, "I don't know if you are." And I said, "I am. You watch it. You'll see." And so through my charm alone and sheer perseverance and probably just out of annoyance from the bartender, that martini was presented to me free of charge. So therefore, I ordered one. I drank two. That is how you achieve. I know it's disappointing. They're like, "Oh, seriously, that's it." That's how. And the beauty of it is, you can probably just tell me, but so you're on your own honor. If you tell me you've cheesed off a bartender enough to make you drink a martini, because they're probably thinking, more booze I give this Boozeketeer, the sooner they'll get out of my face. If you've achieved the Boozeketeer Order of Martini, here's how it works. I know it seems simple, but here's the deal. You have to be wearing your Boozeketeer pin at the time, and you have to insert both swords from the martini through your Boozeketeer shield, like a coat of arms. Once you've done that, you snap a picture and send it to me, and hey, guess what? Presto, you're in. And then then you can get it entitles you $2 off. So there. Oh yeah. So anyway. So I thought that, I'd explain that because I said that it happened, but I didn't really tell anybody about it. But so I know what you're thinking. You're thinking. So Tiki King, all this absinthe, and you're talking to people, and they go crazy, and well, let me tell you something. Did I already talk about famous absinthe drinkers? I don't know if I did. I can't remember half the time. So yeah, Toulouse-Lautrec, it made him short. I don't know what that was all about. But there's a lot of people who've loved absinthe over the years. There's people who are famous for Van Gogh, which I may have inadvertently said Poe for some reason. But this is actually the three noses of Van Gogh on this particular absinthe spoon. Van Gogh, he was known to swill down the green stuff, and he got paintings for it. So creativity. It is definitely, I would say, it is a drink that one of the few drinks that can spawn creativity as well as anything else out there. But the one that most people assume is Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe was not an absinthe drinker. Everybody thinks that he must have because he wore black and courted birds, but that's not the case. He Poe was actually big on cognac. That was his drink of choice. He would go into the bar, order cognac, and drink it all night long. But that was his thing. It wasn't absinthe. It could have been, I suppose, but it wasn't. And no one's sure. Raven, black cat, it's all sorts of. There's animals, and we're animals, and that sort of thing. So there you go. So if you want to be famous and die of exposure in an alleyway, possibly from rabies, I would say get yourself some absinthe and look at it while you drink cognac. But if you don't want that to happen, if all you want to do is maybe cut your ear off or be too short, then join the Absinthe Club. Get with the Green Fairy and get your business straight. Get it together. But you know what? Here's the deal. Sometimes madness isn't enough. What do you do? What do you do, Boozeketeer? What do you do when you've gone to the level of madness that is drinking absinthe on a Tuesday night? And what if you think, how do I get higher? Well, it's easy with the martinis. You get the order of the martini. But if you're drinking absinthe, then you think, I gotta go further. It's not enough. Well then, my friend, I have an answer for you. An answer. Can you guess? I bet there's some people who can guess. Should I wait for them? Probably not. Well, if you need to go further, I got something for you. I'm going to make it up right here. And that is a drink called the Green Russian. This is not something that I invented, but it's something that I've enjoyed, and I'm going to enjoy one right here with you. And here's the thing about this particular drink. Like I said, if absinthe alone does not bring the madness, you might need to step your game up a little bit. You go here. But before you do that, before we get into that part of it, I told you to share once, I'll tell you to share again. And also tell you to go to the websites. Go to tikiking.info. Check out the Tiki King Paradise Club. We've got the whole thing that goes on there. Go to my website, tikiking.com. Buy a bunch of tikis. Because the more tikis you buy, the more I can stop in Winnemucca and buy more absinthe. Just think, every $15 you spend is madness for me. I can't even talk. There's things in the works, Boozeketeers. You just have to pay attention and watch every week to see if there's something worth listening to. That's all I can say. Because there's things I go, no, can't tell you that. But I can tell you that if you find yourself in need of going further, go no further than the Green Russian. What is a Green Russian, you might ask? The Green Russian is an abomination, but it's a tasty, frosty abomination. I'm going to show you how to make right here, right now. And here's the thing. What do you need to make it? Why, you just need an unstable attitude. And some absinthe. And some high-proof vodka. Higher proof, the better. And some cream de menthe. We're going double green. Triple green. We're super green, as they say. And then you need some half-half. You can use skim milk. But I figure if you're doing this, you've probably gone too far already, and it's really not going to help you to use skim milk. So what is in this? I'm going to tell you. I already told you. So just pay attention. So what we're going to do is we've got a shaker here, half filled with crushed ice. Into which we're going to put 1 ounce of cream de menthe. Wow, it looks like Christmas. We're going to put 1 ounce of overproof vodka. We're going to put 1 ounce of that. You know what's funny about that is I'm going to put, this is where I'm going to say, I'm going to go just a hair further than that. We're going to put 1 ounce of half and half. You can use heavy cream if you're heavy. And now, normally, a beautiful cocktail like this would probably be best served in a beautiful cocktail glass. But I figured you're drinking Green Russian, Just probably just dump it into whatever bucket you happen to have handy and go from there. Now, some of you may remember, probably not us. We don't usually remember these things. But up in Moab, almost a year ago, we drank ourselves silly drinking Green Russians. We drank ourselves so silly that the Turk invented a drink called Green Goblin, which was the same thing, only instead of absinthe, he used chartreuse. And that I can tell you was an abomination. It was, I guess it wasn't the undrinkable drink because he pounded it down anyway. But it was pretty close. The rest of us were like, no, I think I'll just stick with either just the absinthe or maybe just vodka or just cream. But he pounded right on through and made what he called the Green Goblin. And I don't know if he's sorry for it, but we are. So if all you have is chartreuse, drink that. Don't mix it with cream de menthe. But do this. But the Green Russian, and I forgot. So you mix one of these up, and it's best enjoyed whilst contemplating the situation that brought you to this very point. Cheers, Boozeketeers. It's like minty, good and plenty madness cup. So that is good. So there you go. That's the Green Russian. I invite you all to give it a try. If you don't remember the recipe, it's 1111 using absinthe, high proof vodka, cream de menthe, half and half. Shake it all in a shaker half filled with crushed ice. Strain it into whatever vessel you have handy for swilling. Think about it. Think about why you are watching my show. That if you don't have anything to depress you, just think, why am I watching this? Again, I can tell you, but not today. Hey, but I will say, next, I'm bleeding green. Good God, Vulcan. We're gonna be so we're up in Tulsa over the weekend, and we're in Tulsa, and we went to the Saturn Room, which Saturn Room, mighty fine tiki bar. If you go to, you're on my Facebook page, but don't go to my Facebook page now because you're watching the show, and then you leave and make this out. But I posted a couple pictures. Fabulous tiki bar in Tulsa. Got a tiki mug, the Golden Driller mug, which is a tiki Maori tiki-esque representation of a gigantic oil man statue that sits in Tulsa somewhere. But their drinks were fine. Fabulous drink. We got introduced to a new one we've never heard of called the chartreuse swizzle. Which, going back, there's a use if you're going to make chartreuse into a cocktail, which I wouldn't recommend it. I'd say put it over ice. But if you want to make it into a cocktail, chartreuse swizzle, good stuff. Maybe we'll make one of those on an episode coming up. But if you are in Tulsa, or going to Tulsa, or just have frequent flyer buyers, frequent fryer buyers. If you happen to have a pair of pliers, go to Tulsa and go to the Saturn Room, and tell them Tiki King hunt you because we're having a good time there. What else? Yeah, so we went to and then up in Kelso the weekend before that went to the Alibi. We've been doing a whole tiki room thing. It's been good. We may be in 2 weeks. I think we may try and pop by Lano down in LA. If we are heading there, maybe we'll put up a thing. You can all come down and join us. Could be a good time. I mean, I know it'll be a good time. I mean, for you, it could be a good time. I can't. Results are not typical. Oh, and so Boozeketeers, you know this, but maybe there's someone out there who's not. You can't. You're like, how am I supposed to achieve the order of the martini when I have no Boozeketeer button with which to pierce with a olive sword? Well, here's the good news: you can get one. You just have to find me and give me the password. And tonight's password is leprechaun. So there you go. You just come to me and say leprechaun, and I'll stare at you because I have no memory of my shows most of the time. But if you say yes, and then I'll say what? And you say password. Oh yeah. And then if I have a Boozeketeer button, I'll present you with one right there, and you don't have to send an envelope. and then we can go have martinis together and see who gets to achieve the order first. So it's a challenge. What else? Is there any more business? I think that's all the business we have this week. Giving them the business. Oh, that's right. So far we've not been taken up on this, and I think it's because people think I'm not serious. If you have a home bar, just send an email and say, "Hey, Tiki King, come to my home bar and do an episode from there." And if it works out somehow that we can do it, we'll set it up. We'll schedule it. If you're somewhere on our route to somewhere or another, or if you just want to buy us first class plane tickets out there, we'd be happy to come. And a couch. We'll need a couch to sleep on, and a pillow, and some absinthe. Or if you don't have a home bar, but maybe you have a lot of booze that you don't know what to do with, then we'll just come. We'll do it. We'll come over and we'll do the show from the couch, and then it's less. We don't have to go as far to pass out. So that's kind of a win-win. So yeah, so send me an email, tikiking@tikiking.com. For those of you who don't know, for those of you who do know, I've probably already been drinking at your house, so it wouldn't be as big of a thrill, I suppose. But just you don't have to line up for that disappointment because you already know that. We talked to the Turk. He's on the. We're talking about trying to get back and redo the episode of the Bilge because it disappeared in the ethers. But a good example of home bar. Just build one. Tell you what, you build one, we'll come out there, drink up your booze. Why not? So, did you learn something tonight, Boozeketeer? I hope so. Because you're all my friends, and I want to pass on this knowledge of madness and where to find it. The best ways to go about handling it when you do. So there you go. What else is there? I think that's it. Now there's just blank pages on the cue cards. Maybe I'm just supposed to stare like Corla Panda. Oh, which I haven't done a musical interlude in a long time. I just realized. Maybe next week. Maybe next week. Man, these work. I'll tell you. Maybe next week I'll have a musical interlude to start. You can't start with an interlude, can you? What's that called? Prelude to Madness by Tiki King. The Interlude is a bar in Sacramento that we may need to go to because he's not a Boozeketeer yet. Wes hasn't joined the Boozeketeer yet. He watches the show sometime, but there's a place that goes from the Sacramento area I hit to called Ernie's Interlude, where apparently they make a rum and coke by putting a teaspoon of coke in a bottle of rum, which is, if you're on your lunch break, that's just the kind of thing to help you along. So, yeah, so there you go. Till next time, I'm Tiki King. You're the Boozeketeers. And we'll see you out there somewhere, maybe in your own house. With that, I'll say good night. Thank you for watching. Thanks everybody who's watching and those who are watching. And those of you who watch the show, thank you for doing so. I'm going to go downstairs before it all.